Hi all and welcome to hashtag Let's Get Awkward. I'm your host, Billy No Mates, and today we have a life story from the one, the only, the Bandit. Yes, you've heard of the Bandit, the whole call. Is it a man? Is it a woman? No, you foolish mortals. They are the Bandit. Yes, and a non-binary superhero has shared their story with us, and I get to share it as if they did it and spoke, then the enemies will be able to find them by their vocals and find them easily. It's a long story. Just joking though. It's a friend who wanted to share this story, and I was like, we need a name. So the Bandit came up, and I was like, my mind went to Supernova. The next thing I know, I'm coming up with superpowers and drawings. I'm a bad drawer though, so not very good. But thankfully, they like the drawing and the superpower. The superpower is amazing. The Bandit flicks the noses of homophobes and whispers, floppy moppy, and bam! They can no longer get hard-ons when watching lesbian porn. That's right. If you're against their rights to have human rights, then you cannot watch them do the dirty. So, let's get to the story. If we can get it down. Here we go. I was 17 years old when I first voiced out loud something that I had been struggling with since childhood. Something I thought would be a phase or I'd grow out of, but it didn't. When I was 14, I came out to my mum and dad and my brother as bisexual. A bisexual girl. I was accepted and life kept going as it always had done, but something else had been bubbling away back then. Something I didn't have the words for, something confusing, because I didn't know if I was a girl or not. I discovered an LGBTQ youth support website and decided to join because it might help me make sense of the confusion of am I a girl or am I not. I ended up reading posts in the trans forum and it was life-changing. The more I spoke with people and shared experiences, the more I realised that I was very likely transgender and that there was something you could do if you wanted to change your body. I tried on a male name and male pronouns and it felt amazing and it felt right. So I thought I would use that as a starting point and see where the road took me. The road leading me to pursuing a more physical transition in my body, becoming male, in being recognised as male, being regarded as a male. I remember my first testosterone injection, watching a nurse prepare the injection before she injected me. Afterwards, I must have walked home with a swagger because I felt so amazing. Like nothing could go wrong that day. And then came anticipation of changes, the beginning of my puberty to manhood. At the age of 20 years old, every change was celebrated from the tiny, almost invisible hairs to the voice squeaks of embarrassment. But it was worth it because it served as a housewarming party, welcoming myself to a new start, a new body, a new life. Having my top surgery was another momentous event, which was going to move me closer to accepting and loving myself. I remember the date perfectly well in my head. July 7th, 2012. After I woke up in recovery, I looked down and it was flat. My boobs had been removed and my chest was flat, just in time for the rest of the summer and tank tops. Sorry, that was funny the way they put it that way. It was a good 7 years after that where I started to hear about non-binary identities and how gender is a spectrum. Although I was living happily as a man, when I considered my gender, it didn't really feel like anything, just blank. If I had to sum up my identity in 5 ways, my gender identity wouldn't factor, as I don't really feel like I have any gender identity. It used to confuse and upset me, but I learned to embrace it, and now I identify as a non-binary trans person, and I feel a sense of peace from it. I will never regret the years of living as a binary man, as it guided me through some dark shadows and pushed me forward into a life that can be and deserves to be celebrated. It gave me a body I feel at home in and happy in. but the binary identity is now laid aside as non-binary is the closest to a label that fits more than anything else. 12 years ago, I came out as a boy. 12 years on, at the age of 29, still here and fighting and still living in a body I love, which incidentally, I'll have been on testosterone for 10 years next year and 9 years post-op. Here's to the rest of my life. My name is the Bandit, and this is my story. So that was the Bandit story, and what I admire about it is that they had family support throughout the journey, and yes, they admitted that there were struggles along the way, but when you see who is there for you during this journey and who isn't, it does put your life in more perspective and you treasure what you have most. My close family support me through this. Distant family don't really seem to bother, and a few dead name me and call me she. But looking at the Bandit story is hopeful, as it shows how supporting a family member can create something so beautiful and create so much joy and happiness and help them through dark times. I mentioned in episode 3 about how supporting transgenders can have a massive effect on their mental health. I know it's easy to say we need to support transgenders. Yeah, I understand that families, friends, they do need support as well. It's a change in their lives too that is, well, it's astronomical, because you come from knowing this person as being their gender and then it's changing. There are plenty of sites. One I mention at the end of each episode, Mermaid UK. There is also Stonewall, Switchboard, and Outlife, to name a few. For family friends, if you cry and feel upset, you're not a bad person. It is a big change, and yes, you may feel bad as you didn't notice it, but a lot of the time, trans, non-binary kids, people will try and hide it, as to be scared because they're unsure how people are going to react to them when they open up about who they are. But the best thing that families can do, and friends, is to reach out to other families, share your stories, and find comfort that you are not alone. There are others who have made this journey and are willing to talk about their experiences to help others who have started or are on the journey to help their loved ones. When I came out to my parents, my mum, she bought books, she looked on websites and got as much information as she could about transgenders and what she could do to support me. And it is amazing, because the first time I heard her call me by my name and how she keeps going calling me by my name is it's the most amazing feeling I've had, knowing that I'm fully accepted by my family. And my mum supports me and sees me not as her daughter, but as her son. Which is good, because I think she always wanted another son, because she had 3 girls and a son, and now she has 2 girls and a son, and 2 sons. So I think she's happy on that point. Though I do joke that I'm the favourite. Don't tell her that. Well, she already knows. But back to the topic of families. I do understand that there is going to be a struggle, because in my family there does seem to be a struggle. As I said, one part has accepted it, the other part don't really seem to notice or care, or feels like it doesn't. I mean, one of my family members was really upset that I didn't come out to them first, because I'd come out to the family who lives around me, and then I came out on Facebook, and they seemed to be upset about the fact that I came out as transgender on Facebook before coming to them. But in my mind, it didn't really seem that much of an issue, because we were never that close. And they may be struggling to accept it, or they may not be, or they just don't care. I don't know. But there are families who feel like they are struggling. It is an upward battle. So I'm going to read a piece from the movie The Two Towers, Lord of the Rings. Sam's speech. I know it sounds over the top. Yeah, there have been times where I feel like there is a war going on in my head and body, where I'm exhausted from fighting with my emotions. People around me who try to make it look like I'm being selfish, wanting to be my true self, like it's the wrong thing to do. Then I think of this scene from the Two Towers and I feel relief as it reminds me there are people out there who do love and support me. And I do feel that there are family members who are supporting transgenders, non-binaries, and they struggle with their emotions because they're not sure if, if they feel like they're going to say something wrong or they're going to do something wrong. And then the battling of feelings that they may be losing a child because your son is now a daughter, your daughter is becoming a son, or they're becoming non-binary. And it can give you that confusion of what do you do, what do you say? And then you've got haters, transphobes, homophobes, and it's hurtful to know that people, all you want to do is to help your friend or family member, but there are people out there who want to hurt them, and it just feels like you're fighting a losing battle. But this was taken, as said, from Lord of the Rings Two Towers when they were in Gondor. I know it's all wrong. By rights, we shouldn't even be here, but we are. It's like the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really matter. Full of darkness and danger, they were, and sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing. This shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine out the clearer. Those were stories that stayed with you, Mr. Frodo. That meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had a lot of chances of turning back, only they didn't, because they were holding on to something. And then Frodo asks what they were holding on to, and Sam says that there's some good in the world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. As I said, it does sound a bit over the top, but it also kind of reminds me of a TV series that came out called Butterfly. It was a 3-part British television drama series that came out in 2018 about a young kid who had come out as a transgender girl. And it did feel like a battle because her parents were separated at the time, so they were arguing over, is this just a phase? Isn't it just a phase? And then there's other family members who were, the grandparents thought it was just their grandchild wasn't transgender, they were just gay. And seeing the battle that they had to go through to understand what was happening to this child, 11-year-old girl, and it was heartbreaking to watch. I do recommend you watch it though. It does give you an idea on what it is for being a transgender child. But it just still shows that, it may not be a massive battle as it was for Middle Earth, but it was a battle to be who they were and to try and come to peace with it and try and get the family's acceptance. And there have been stories where there are some transgenders, non-binaries who don't have a family or friends to support them, and the battle is waging for them because they've been disowned and they're trying to live by themselves and trying to make sense of, is it worth being alone just to be a genuine self? So I do think that passage is, relevant. But if you do want to get to know more about transgenders or non-binaries, then as always you can go to mermaidsuk.org. We're not sponsored by them, we just love mermaids. This has been a short episode, but it has been a short piece. I'm Billy No Mates, and remember, hashtag let's get awkward, and we'll see you next week.